Hello guys, welcome back to Fanfic Dojo. Today we will be listening to What If Naruto Awakes Kamigan Bloodline Part 1. Konohagakure no Sato is considered as one of the strongest villages in the elemental nations. The village, known for its extraordinary strength in the shinobi arts, easily rose from the devastation caused by the Kyuubi attack 8 years ago. Peace has reigned in the village after a few years of the destruction, but was relatively broken by the sound of a mob chasing an 8-year-old boy with blonde hair, blue eyes, and 3 whisker marks on both his cheeks. The boy's name is Uzumaki Naruto. The boy, Uzumaki Naruto, was used to this kind of treatment from the villagers. He didn't know the reason why he is being hated and that he deserved this kind of animosity from everyone, but his 8-year-old mind was busy trying to find ways to survive from his current ordeal than to ponder the mysteries that seemed to pronounce this fate. Despite his malnourished state, Naruto used his small body to outrun the mob. His stamina was considered the best in the village, able to outrun the Anbu or Chunins chasing him to catch him in one of his pranks, but it seems like today is not one of his lucky days. He found himself in one of the dead-end alleys that blocked his escape. He tried to find a way out of this predicament, but, alas, he resigned himself to his fate for another round of beatings. Finally, we caught you, demon brat, a villager shouted after cornering the cowering blonde holding a pitchfork in front of him, ready to impale the boy. Today we are going to finish what the Yondaime started. We are going to kill you, demon. Another villager ranted, brandishing a cleaver. Shouts of, "Kill the demon," "Destroy the brat," and other expletives were coming out of the crowd. For Naruto, all of this means nothing but a load of pain and suffering if he ever gets out of this alive. The first attack came in the form of kunais, which he barely avoided except for a couple impaling him on the legs and shoulders. It seems that there were also ninjas in the group, but the lack of the usual shinobi garb hid their presence well. The rest of the villagers took this as a signal to start their vengeance and fell on the boy with their chosen weapons. He was stabbed in the stomach with a kunai, his arms were sliced by a cleaver, his right shoulder was stabbed by a pitchfork. He was beaten to every inch of his life, which left him with bruises and more bleeding. He was in unbearable pain, his entire body ached from the various stab wounds and cuts. He was curled on the alley floor and tried to stand, but a sudden pain made him fall back on the ground, gasping for breath. It seems that his legs were broken, as well as his left arm. Despite the torture that he went through, he was still conscious. "Why? What did I do to you people?" he gasped out, tears leaking out from his face. One of the villagers looked at him, sneering. "Why, you ask? Because you are a demon. We are just exercising our civic duty to finish what the fourth started, to kill you and end your miserable existence, demon." With that, he swung down his katana, aiming to decapitate the boy. Naruto saw the sword and time seemed to slow down. His pitiful existence flashed before his very eyes. He recalled all the beatings, the ridicule, and the insult. He was wondering why he was clinging to life so hard, and it would be a blessing for him to just die and meet his parents in the afterlife. But before he was about to give up, he recalled one conversation he had with his surrogate grandfather, the Hokage, during one of their ramen trips. Flashback. Naruto was enjoying his 5th bowl of ramen with his Hokage Jiji. He enjoyed hanging out with the old man that he treated as a grandfather, along with the Ichiraku ramen family that fed him when he was out of food. In fact, there were only a few people in Konoha that treated Naruto like one of them. One of them being the Hokage, the Ichiraku family consisting of old man Tyuki and his daughter Ayame, and of course the 2 Anbu guards that he considered as older brothers, Weasel and Dog. The Hokage was astounded with Naruto's spirit. Despite being subjected to the villagers' stupidity and constant beatings, he was still that little ball of energy with a smile on his face that he loved, someone that he considered to be his grandson. "So Naruto, what are your plans in the future?" the Hokage asked while the boy was about to start on his 6th bowl. Naruto paused his attack on the poor ramen bowl and thought for a bit. "Well, I want to gain the villagers' respect. I'll do anything to make them love me. He declared with a fierce determination that reminded the Hokage of the will of fire that the Shadaime and Nadaime preached during his apprenticeship. Well, my boy, how are you planning to do that? The Hokage asked, amused over the boy's declaration. I'm going to become the strongest ninja in the world, shouted Naruto, which made the old man laugh in amusement. Oh, that is quite a claim, my boy. I will become the best Gigi, and I'm going to take that hat away from you when I do. The boy declared, his eyes burning with determination. The Hokage didn't doubt that the boy would deliver his promise in the future, and he would be more than happy to give it to him when the time is right. Well, if you want to become a ninja, then you need to attend the academy soon. He mused. Really? Great. I'm going to be a ninja. The boy bounced on his seat, excited over the prospect of getting started on his dream. Relax, Naruto. You're still too young to join the academy, but you will soon. I promise you that, said the Hokage. Sure, Gigi. The boy quipped, then suddenly gave him a foxy grin. Hey Gigi, can I try your hat on? Giving him the puppy look. He really hated Naruto when he resorted to this deadly weapon of mass destruction. He coughed and looked away to avoid the temptation in giving into his demands. Oh no, you don't, Naruto. Finish your bowl of ramen so one can get you home for the night, said the Hokage, laughing at Naruto's defeated face. This has been one of their favorite game, Naruto trying to coax the cage hat away from him. They've been at this since Naruto was 3 years old. Naruto just shrugged and backed down for now and attacked the innocent ramen bowl in front of him. He will get the hat soon enough and achieve his dream. End of flashback. When he recalled the memory, determination gripped his entire being. He will not give up now. He will continue to live until he achieved his goal to become the strongest ninja in the world and take the hat away from the old man. A sudden warmth seemed to flow from his stomach and seems to flow to every part of his body, washing away the aches and pains. He didn't notice that the various cuts and bruises healed, his entire body covered by a mysterious light. He felt the warmth spread over his body and onto his eyes, then the world exploded in a world of colors: red, blue, green, brown, and white. The villagers were scared. One moment they were beating the crap out of the demon brat and was about to shout for joy as one of their number deliver a decapitating swing to end the demon's life when something happened that shook them to the very core of their being. The boy's body was suddenly covered by a multicolored aura. The sword swing was stopped in its track by a sudden wall of wind that blew the items in the alley floor all over the place. The boy threw his right arm out, palm forward, and a sudden wall of water appeared that pushed everyone back, including the one that was about to end his life. The mob was sputtering and started to pull themselves back on their feet when they noticed the boy at the end of the alley. The shock that hit them was nothing compared to the emotions that they felt when they saw the boy, standing. All of his wounds started healing in front of their eyes. But that is not what caused them to almost wet themselves. The aura surrounded the boy separated into 5, one for each color, and formed a ball. The red aura formed into a sphere of fire and placed itself beside the boy a few inches beside his right thigh, releasing wisps of smoke as if it burned the very air around it. The blue aura formed into water that appeared out of thin air, and settled beside the left thigh, releasing small drop of water that fell on the alley floor. The green seemed to be a ball of wind, spinning like a small tornado on the boy's right arm. The brown aura absorbed the loose earth at the boy's feet, forming a spinning ball of rocks and dirt on the boy's left. The white ball seemed to cackle with electricity and situated itself on top of the boy's head. However, what they saw that almost shit themselves was the boy's eyes. The iris was now a solid gold and the pupil was replaced by a 5-pointed inverted star and glowing an eerie white. Dog, one of the Hokage's personal Anbu, was speeding to the location where he felt a huge spike of chakra on the west side of the village. It was supposed to be his turn to watch Naruto, but the latest release of his Ika Ika series was none to be ignored. The chakra spike was Naruto, and that only spelled trouble. He arrived at a scene that made his blood run cold and his rage almost overwhelming him. The mob cornered Naruto in one of the deserted alleys in the commercial district, and one of them was about to swing his sword to behead his charge. He was about to interfere when something happened that almost made him shit in his pants. What he saw made him curse. Oh shit. Naruto was standing. The energy that he felt disappeared, but it left him refreshed, and the lingering warmth made him feel powerful, invincible even. He saw that the mob was a few feet away from him, staring at him with awe and fear that almost made him laugh. He checked himself to see why he wasn't hurting anymore, but what he saw shocked him to the very core. There, surrounding him, were 5 balls of something, 2 beside his thighs, 2 on his arms, and 1 just a bit above his head in front of him. What is happening? What are these things? Naruto asked himself. He was brought out from his thoughts when one of the villagers shouted. The demon is doing something. A large villager shouted. The demon is escaping. Another ranted. Let's get him. 2 of the villagers charged forward, one carrying a cleaver and the other carrying the katana that almost chopped his head off. He crossed his arms to shield himself from their attacks when something happened that scared him. The red ball flared and emitted a stream of red-hot fire that surrounded him, effectively cutting off the attack with a wall of flame. The charging villagers stopped their attacks and were starting at the wall of flame with fear in the eyes. What just happened? Thought Naruto, not believing what just happened. The red ball that looked like fire just protected him with a wall of flame. He was snapped out of his thoughts by a voice in the back of his head. Snap out of it, Kit. This is no time to solve the mysteries of the universe, the voice said sarcastically. Who are you? Asked Naruto, now freaking out because of what happened. The appearance of the wall of flame scared him, but the voice in his head definitely freaked him out. Who I am will be answered later. You need to defend yourself against them, the voice commanded with urgency. How am I supposed to do that? There are a lot of them and I can't run since I'm stuck, demanded Naruto. Naruto was pulled out from his rant when some of the villagers started throwing knives at him. Not knowing what to do, he instinctively threw his arms out, hoping to stop what was about to happen. This time, the ball of spiraling wind on his right seemed to sense his thoughts and release a strong gust of wind that blew the projectiles away from him. Now what happened? Not believing his eyes when the wind suddenly appeared and blew the flying kunais away from him. Man, you're practically an idiot. The voice growled in amusement. Hey, I'm not an idiot. Get out of my head, whoever you are, ranted Naruto. Okay kid, listen up. I'm not going to explain this again, and we are in a hurry if we want to get out of this alive. Those things floating around you will protect you. All you need to do is to will them to do so. What? Now is not the time to give you an explanation. We can do that later when we are out of this mess. Just think of what you want them to do and they will do it. Now attack. Not wanting to get shouted at by the mysterious voice in his head, he followed the advice. He commanded the wind to throw the villagers away, and it did. The ball of wind suddenly expanded and released a small tornado that tore through the mob like a charging bull. Pressing his advantage, he swung his left hand and pointed a finger at the group, willing the fire to scare them away. The wall of flames that surrounded him flared to life, taking the form of a dragon, and flew to the shivering mob, burning about half of them in the process. The screams they released made Naruto lose his concentration, so both the flames and the wind died down. One of the ninjas in the crowd saw this and threw another barrage of kunais, hoping to get a clean hit to end the demon's life. Naruto saw this and acted on instinct again. A wall of water appeared in front of him, apparently fed by the blue orb on his side that protected him from the barrage. Wanting to get out of this predicament as soon as possible, Naruto threw his arms forward, praying to get rid of the mob so he can go see the old man to explain what's happening. What happened was both amazing and scary at the same time. The orb of light on top of his head released a relentless assault of pure lightning that practically tore through the mob, killing some of them while making the rest run like cowards. After a few minutes, the alley looked like it came out of a war zone. The mobs who were electrocuted were groaning in pain, while the rest were passed out from getting the worst shock of their life. Various scorches littered the walls and the alley floor was pockmarked with holes when hit by his attacks. Naruto was on his knees, panting in exhaustion, but noticed that the 5 spheres were encircling him in a protective fashion. Seeing that there were no more threats around, he allowed himself to relax and to regain his lost breath. Nice work there, Kit. The last attack was a bit excessive, but for your first time, it wasn't so bad, complimented the voice. He was about to retort, but the exhaustion was too much for him to handle, so he blacked out into unconsciousness. The dog-masked Anbu was shocked to say the least. What he saw almost made him crap his pants. The kid, who was just 8 years old, released powerful elemental attacks in defense that made most Junins look like toddlers. He was knocked out of his shock when he saw the boy fall into unconsciousness. He disappeared from his perch on the roof and appeared next to the boy and was surprised that the elemental spheres didn't attack him. He made his way slowly to the unconscious boy, hoping that his approach won't trigger the boy's defense, and was surprised that it didn't. He picked up the boy and ran to the hospital to have him checked and to report to the Hokage about what happened. Naruto woke up facing the whitewashed ceiling of the hospital. He hated the place. He always ends up in one of the medical wards after the beatings he gets from the villagers. He was lucky that he heals fast, or else he would be staying here for months with the injuries he keeps getting from the mobs. One of the doctors that he befriended even joked once that he should get one of the beds plated with his name since he was a regular customer of the place. He looked around to realize that he was alone. From the lack of light, it would seem that it is already evening, so he must have been sleeping for quite a while. He stretched out the kinks on his body and found the lack of pain from his earlier beating to be a blessing. He swore that Kami gifted him with it so he would remain alive from the beatings he gets from the villagers. Seeing a pitcher of water on the table beside his bed, he proceeded to pour himself a cup to water down his parched throat. He remembered what happened and looked around. He noticed the absence of the colorful orbs that he saw during the encounter with the mobs. He was depressed about that though. Those skills that he demonstrated would have been very handy, not to mention that it would be cool to have around. Everything that happened must have been a dream, thought Naruto. No, Kit. You didn't dream anything. He almost lost his grip on the glass of water he was holding. The voice was back. It wasn't a dream then. You're there, whoever you are. I thought everything that happened was a dream, said Naruto, already freaking out. After all, he heard from one of the doctors that if you have a voice in your head that you talk to, then you are definitely crazy. Nope, not a dream. Everything you remembered from yesterday really happened. The voice replied with an amused tone. If it wasn't a dream, then how come I don't see any of those flying thingies? Challenged Naruto. Because the ability is turned off at the moment. It wouldn't be much of a bloodline if it's turned on all the time. I mean, really, if you were a ninja, you would be spotted a mile away with your elemental orbs flying around you all the time. Elemental orbs? Asked Naruto, now confused with everything that happened. Come into your mind, all will be explained. With that, Naruto felt his consciousness being grabbed by something. He passed out again for the second time that day, his glass of water forgotten. Naruto opened his eyes and saw himself in a sewer. He was in an ankle deep of water with pipes all around him. The drips of water echoed from the distance. Well, what are you waiting for? Come to me. The voice said, no longer in his head but seems to echo from all around him from somewhere. I would if I know where you are, grumbled Naruto. A dry chuckle echoed across the walls. One of the pipes beside him lit up, giving the place a reddish hue. Follow the pipe, it will lead you to me, the voice instructed. Seeing nothing else to do, Naruto followed the lit pipe to discover the source of the voice. It didn't take long, but after a few minutes of walking, he found himself in a wide cavern the size of the Hokage Tower. The walls were filled with pipes in varying colors, red, blue, white, green, and brown. It was mesmerizing to look at. On the far edge of the cavern was a giant cage with bars the size of his body. On the middle of the cage was a paper with the kanji of seal. Finally, I get to meet my container for 8 long years. I've been waiting for you, Kit, said the voice that seemed to come from the darkness in the other side of the cage. Where are you? Or more importantly, who are you? Asked Naruto, peering into the darkness of the cage to see who he was talking to. Before he could say anything else, the entire room was lit up by an intense wave of red chakra that seemed to emanate from the cage itself. The chakra felt heavy that it almost brought him to his knees, but as fast as it came, it was gone, but the lighting around the cavern remained. When Naruto raised his head, he was face to face with a creature that he only heard described in books. He immediately backed away. Kyuubi. Got it in one. You're not as dumb as you look. The creature known as Kyuubi quipped in a demonic voice, similar to the one that has been echoing in his head. Hey, I'm not dumb, defended Naruto, still shaking a bit at the size of the creature in front of him. That remained to be seen. The fox mumbled, which was still loud enough for an indignant Naruto to hear. Anyway, we are currently in your mind, or to be more specific, in the seal on your body. Seal? What seal? You should be dead. The Yondaime killed you 8 years ago. He was interrupted from his rant when a menacing wave of killer intent that flooded the room. Kyuubi growled. Killed? Ha! The Yondaime couldn't possibly kill me. Me, the strongest of all the Biju. The Kyuubi no Kitsune. However, he did the only thing that could stop my rampage. He sealed me inside his only child. You, said Kyuubi in a loud voice, unaware that he revealed something that he shouldn't have said this early of the conversation. What? The Yondaime is my father, shouted Naruto in disbelief. Not only was the Kyuubi sealed in his gut, but he also found out that his father was the one who did that to him. His father was the Yondaime, one of the strongest Hokages of Konoha. Sometimes, the stupidity of humans can be very amusing. Kyuubi mused loudly. Yes, Kit. I am sealed inside you, and the Yondaime is your father. I don't know why this has been kept a secret from you, so it's best if you ask the old man about it, since I don't know anything about it. Naruto's mental state was in chaos, to say the least. Not only did he learn that the Kyuubi was sealed inside him, but his father did it. He realized why he was called a demon all the time by the villagers. They think that he is the Kyuubi because he was its jailer. He felt betrayed that the old man didn't trust him enough to share this information with him. He was mad at the villagers for their stupidity. No tears fell, but deep inside him, his anger was starting to smolder. While he was deep in thought, the great Kyuubi was eyeing his host with a speculative gleam in his eyes. True, it was a bit of an insult to be sealed into a runt, but there is nothing he can do about it now. He can also sense the hatred and anger coming from the boy. He needed to stop this now before the boy decides on something that he will regret later on. Snap out of it, Kit. This isn't the time to wallow in pity, said Kyuubi. Upon hearing his voice, Naruto's head snapped up and gave the Kyuubi an intense glare that made the creature back up a bit. You're one to talk. It's because of you that I'm hated by the villager. It is because of you that I'm always beaten on my birthday. It is because of you that my life has been hell. Kyuubi released a powerful roar that made Naruto release all the anger and hatred he backed up in his rant. A claw made of red chakra shot out from the cage and engulfed him in a tight grip. He was yanked out of the ankle-deep water and brought face to face with the all-powerful creature sealed inside him. You have no right to blame me for the life you have, stupid human. I didn't ask to be sealed inside you. I also didn't attack the village without provocation. I was yanked out of my previous jailer when you were born, and someone controlled me to attack your village. With that, he threw Naruto down back to the sewer floor, causing a large splash of water upon impact. Naruto was dazed but, luckily, was still conscious even in his mind. Also, don't blame me for the Yondaime's action. I didn't ask him to seal me inside you. He did it on his own for the reason I don't know about. So before you yell at me for everything that happened in your life, know the facts first, kid, before I ram it down your throat, ranted Kyuubi. Naruto was shaken. It's not every day to be on the receiving end from a powerful rant from one of the most powerful creature in the elemental nation. However, the rant from Kyuubi made him realize that the Biju was right. It wasn't his fault that he was sealed inside his body. After all, who would be stupid enough to be imprisoned anyway? Shaking his head to clear away his thoughts, Naruto approached the cage with his head bowed. I'm sorry, he mumbled to the creature. What? Shouted Kyuubi. I'm sorry, okay. I'm sorry for ranting at you. I was angry, shouted Naruto. Kyuubi gave the kid a glare and huffed. Fine. Just don't do it again. Are you calmed down now for us to talk, or do you still want to rant and rave? Asked Kyuubi sarcastically. Naruto took a deep breath to calm him down. Yeah, I'm good. So what do you want to talk about? Kyuubi was surprised at this. In front of him was a kid that is well known to have temper issues, but calming down after just a few seconds was definitely a miracle. Deciding to press his luck, he talked to the kid. I'm here to answer your questions. I'm sure that you have dozens of them considering what happened yesterday, so why don't you start and I'll answer the best I can, said Kyuubi. Why? Why are you being nice to me? Blurted Naruto. Why, you ask? Simple. I have no choice. To tell you the truth, kid, I don't like you and you definitely don't like me. But what would you have me do? I'm imprisoned inside you for life. The seal was made by the Shinigami himself that tied our souls together. If I escape, we both die. If you die, I die. So instead of bitching about it, I'm willing to work with you to make my life more bearable in this stinking prison. Well, I guess that answers that. You mentioned you have a previous jailer aside from me. Who was it? Asked a curious Naruto. My jailer before you was your mother, Uzumaki Kushina, replied Kyuubi. What? My mother was your jailer? Shouted Naruto. Calm down, Kit. You're giving me a migraine. Yes, your mother was my jailer. Nice lady too. She and I got along well together. When she was pregnant with you, a major part of her chakra system and body functions was diverted to sustaining you, so the seal that held me in her body was weakening. But with the efforts of your father, the Yondaime, they were able to hold me inside while you were being pushed out. He paused, checking if the kid was listening. Seeing that he got his attention, he continued. Anyway, after you were born, they were about to reinforce the seal when a man came out of nowhere and attacked your mother, which eventually released me from the seal. I was teleported outside of Konoha borders where the man suddenly appeared and took control of me. Do you know who the man was? Asked Naruto in a tight voice, wanting to know the one who killed his family and caused all his problems. Oh, I remember him all right, said an angry Kyuubi. He was the same man who controlled me to do battle with Hashirama Senju in a place what you guys now call the Valley of the End. His name was Uchiha Madara. What? He supposed to be dead? Asked a disbelieving Naruto. He read some books on his spare time when he was allowed in the library, so he was a bit familiar with Konoha's history and founding. Oh, he's alive all right. I don't know how, but he is definitely alive. He survived the battle with the Shadaime and he is definitely alive when he attacked your mother and took control of me for the second time. I'm guessing that he is still alive right now, but as to where he is, I don't have a clue. I see. So what now? Asked Naruto, dropping the subject for later. He has more important things to worry about, that history. Well, how about we talk about what happened back in the alley when you were attacked? I'm sure you have questions. Naruto nodded. Yes. What happened back there? What were those ball thingies that appeared around me? It was amazing. I didn't know I have something like that, said Naruto in an amazed voice. Kyuubi chuckled. Yes, Kit. It was definitely amazing. You see, what happened to you back there was a combination of both your mother's bloodline and my interference. This shocked Naruto. He has a bloodline. My mother has a bloodline. Oh yes. But your mother's bloodline was in a passive form. You see, her bloodline was called chakra manipulation. In her case, she can use her chakra to form chains that can easily disable anything, even me. That is one of the reasons why she was chosen to be my jailer in the first place. Now it would be safe to say that you already have her bloodline of chakra manipulation. What is chakra manipulation? Is it a way of using chakra for a lot of things? You are partially correct. You see, shinobis have the ability to use chakra for jutsu. There are also some who utilize their chakra for small things, like the Hyuga clan who uses chakra on the tip of their fingers like a needle to close the tenketsus of their opponents. Those are minor things compared to what you can do. In your case, you got the full ability of your bloodline unlike your mother. In your case, you have full chakra manipulation, you can do anything with it. You can make it into weapons, you can use it to move objects, you can even protect yourself with it by forming a dense shield. With this ability, you can use your imagination to use chakra in anything you wish, said Kyuubi. Naruto was now amazed with everything that Kyuubi said. He has a bloodline. But not just any bloodline, it is an amazing bloodline. He can use his chakra to do anything he wanted. However, something wasn't right. He voiced out his concerns. But what I did back in the alley is definitely not chakra manipulation, is it? I mean, it was different from what you described regarding my mother's bloodline, questioned Naruto. Kyuubi nodded. You're very perceptive, Kit. You see, I tweaked your bloodline a bit to suit my purpose. I don't want to have a weak jailer. Ever since I saw you getting beaten up, it took me a few years to change your DNA so that I can also change your latent ability. What you have now is quite different from your mother's bloodline, but also similar in a way. What I did was give you full chakra and elemental control as well as granting you an ultimate defense, so to speak. Huh, what? Asked a dumbfounded Naruto. Kyuubi just sighed. This might take a while. Let me see. I changed your bloodline a bit using my chakra. Instead of just manipulating chakra, I changed it so that you can use your chakra to allow you to manipulate the elements as well. For example, you can manipulate your chakra to allow you to create a shield of water or a sword of wind. It's all up to you on what you want to do with it. It takes practice, sure, but I'm sure that you can do it the way you want it to. That is also one of the reasons why you have a large chakra supply. This ability requires a shitload of chakra to work, so I also boosted your natural chakra supply to at least cage so you won't drop from exhaustion from using it. Whoa, that is so cool! Shouted Naruto, excited over the prospect of practicing his bloodline ability. You mentioned something about ultimate defense. What is that? Oh, you caught that, did you? Seeing Naruto nod, he continued. Did you notice those small orbs that were floating around you back in the alley? Yep. I was freaked out a bit at first, but now that I think about it, they were cool. Well, those orbs are also a result of the changes I made to your bloodline. These orbs are elemental orbs that is an automatic defense connected to your instinct. If you feel an attack coming or your instinct picks something up, then it will react accordingly to protect you. If you noticed, you can also control it to attack. To explain it easily, it is a subconscious defense but requires your focus and will to attack, explained Kyuubi. So how do I activate it then? Asked Naruto, excited to gain control of this ability as soon as possible. Seeing Naruto's excitement, Kyuubi sighed again. Simple, Kit. Just channel chakra to your eyes to active your bloodline. Like the Sharingan and Byakugan, the eyes act as a switch for the bloodline to work. To turn it on, just continuously channel your chakra to your eyes, and if you want to turn it off, then just cut the chakra flow. That's easy. I can do that. He paused for a bit, then looked at Kyuubi with a sheepish expression on his face. How do I channel chakra? Kyuubi's sweat dropped. This is going to take a while. Naruto opened his eyes and saw that it was morning. He guessed that it took almost all night to talk to Kyuubi about his bloodline. His body was well rested, it seems, considering that his body was asleep while his mind did all the work. It was amazing that he didn't get any headache from the whole thing. Of course, I wouldn't want you to wake up with a headache. I shudder to think your reaction would be when you wake up with a migraine, quipped Kyubi from his head. I didn't know we can talk like this, said Naruto. You really are an idiot at times. If you remember, I talked to you when you were attacked in that alley, said Kyubi in an amused tone. Oh yeah, right. Sorry about that, replied a sheepish Naruto. If you don't mind, I'll go take a nap. I stayed up all night talking to you, so I want to go to sleep and leave you alone for a while, said Kyubi, getting a mental image of the fox yawning and curling up in his cage. Naruto shook his head and sat up on his bed. He pulled off the covers and found that he was garbed in a hospital gown. I guess my clothes are gone now, he thought sadly when he remembered the beatings he got from yesterday. He looked around and saw that he was alone, so he proceeded to practice his bloodline a bit before someone comes knocking in. He closed his eyes and channeled chakra to his eyes. He felt the same warmth pool around his eyes that told him that his bloodline was active. He opened his eyes and saw that he was surrounded again by his elemental orbs. Remembering what Kyubi told him about his ability, he willed the orbs to move in front of him so he can inspect them closely, and they did. The 5 elemental orbs swiftly moved in front of him, seemingly like a puppy happy to serve its master. Each orb represent each element: an orb of red-hot flames, a white orb of crackling electricity, a blue orb of water, a green orb of swirling wind, and a brown orb made of earth. Curious, he stuck one of his fingers into the fire orb and was surprised that it didn't burn him. It was warm, comfortable to the touch. He pulled it out and stuck the same finger into the white orb of electricity, which made the tip of his finger tingle. He played around with it a bit, making them dance around his body, also do some tricks like a loop-the-loop, which he found entertaining. He also experimented on the range of his bloodline. It seems that these orbs were self-sustaining and can leave the range of his body. He experimented with this a bit by throwing the balls on the ends of the room and was happy that they didn't disappear. He also remembered that Kyubi told him about his chakra manipulation, so he gave it a shot and channeled chakra to his finger to connect to the orbs. It didn't work as he planned. All he got was a wisp of chakra escaping from his fingers and nothing else. I guess Kyubi was right when he told me that chakra manipulation requires more practice compared to my elemental orbs. He was so busy with his experimentation that he didn't notice the Hokage and dog enter the medical ward he was in. Their jaws were hanging open when they saw Naruto playing around with spheres made of elements. It was astounding and freaky at the same time. The Hokage coughed to get his attention. Naruto was busy playing around with his elemental orbs when he heard someone cough in the room. He turned his head and saw the Hokage and dog standing there on the door with their mouth hanging open. He gave them both a wave that caused the orbs to weave around him as if they were playing. Hiya-Jiji, dog-san. He greeted his visitors. Both approached Naruto cautiously to avoid getting attacked by the orbs. Dog informed the Hokage everything that happened in the alley, so both were quite cautious when they approach. Naruto noticed this. Don't worry, Jiji. They won't attack. He demonstrated that he was in complete control of his ability by letting them move around his body with his fingers, telling them where to go to alleviate their concerns. Naruto, I'm glad to see that you're awake. The Hokage greeted his surrogate grandson. I'm happy to see you're alright, Naruto. How are you feeling? Dog asked, concern lacing his voice, which Naruto found endearing. I'm feeling good. Great even. A lot of things happened, but I'm cool, quipped Naruto happily. Naruto, what are those? What happened to your eyes? The Hokage pointed at the orbs. Oh, these are my elemental orbs. They are a part of my bloodline, explained Naruto with an excited tone in his voice. Bloodline? I didn't know you had such a bloodline. I don't even know that such a bloodline exists, asked the Hokage, dumbfounded on the idea of Naruto having such a powerful bloodline. Oh, yeah, these are new. Kyubi told me that he changed my mother's bloodline a bit to create them. When I get these eyes, it means that my bloodline is activated. Kyubi. Both Hokage and Dog shouted. Yep. Kyuubi explained everything to me, said Naruto. He frowned. He also told me everything about my parents. Naruto, the Hokage started but was cut off by Naruto. You don't have to say anything, Gigi. I understand why you didn't tell me, so I forgive you. I also know that I have Kyuubi sealed inside me and I was able to talk to him. You talked to the Kyuubi? Asked the Hokage, shocked that Naruto was able to get in contact with the beast at this early stage of his life. Yup. It was an accident really, caused by the attacks, but it was good. I want you to be careful, Naruto. The Kyuubi is a dangerous creature, warned the Hokage. I resent that. I'm only dangerous to my enemies, growled Kyuubi. I thought you were asleep. Naruto asked his tenant. I was, but I woke up when I heard you were talking to the old man and your friend, explained Kyuubi. The Hokage noticed Naruto's blank stare, so he shook the boy a bit to get his attention. What? Exclaimed Naruto. You spaced out a bit there, kid, said Dog. Oh, sorry about that. Kyuubi was talking to me. He was supposed to be asleep, but he woke up when you came in and heard you. What? Sheesh. Old people tend to overreact these days. Tell him to calm down, Kit. I won't do anything. Why don't you tell him what we talked about in our deal? Said Kyuubi. Giving the fox a mental nod, he turned his attention to his two visitors. Why don't you two sit down? This is going to take a while. When the Hokage and Dog sat down, Naruto explained everything that happened in the alley and his meeting with Kyuubi. He told them about why Kyuubi attacked Konoha and explained what he knows about his abilities. When Naruto ended his story, the Hokage was massaging his temple because of the headache he got while digesting Naruto's story. Dog was drinking from a sake bottle he got from somewhere. Both found everything that happened to Naruto to be unbelievable. In fact, nothing natural seems to happen to the kid. So Gigi, what do you think? I think you just gave me the worst headache in my history as Hokage. The old man whined while giving Dog a glare for not sharing his sake with him. It wasn't that bad. Naruto defended himself. Wasn't that bad. You just told us that you had a talk with the most powerful Biju in the elemental nations and gave you practically the most powerful bloodline in history. Sheesh. Nice to downplay everything that happened, kid, exclaimed Dog. Naruto just ignored it and looked at the old man. So Gigi, what do you think I should do now? The Hokage made up his mind over some things concerning Naruto's inheritance. Why don't we leave here and adjourn to my office? Let's finish our talk there. Since you already know about your parents, so it's only safe to give you your inheritance. I think we might need to discuss about giving you an early training course so you can safely handle your bloodline without killing yourself. Naruto agreed. After Naruto changed into clothes that Dog got from his apartment, they adjourned to the Hokage Tower to talk about Naruto's inheritance. When they got to the office, Dog left to resume his shift while the Hokage went to one of the portraits lining the Hokage office. He bit into his thumb and wiped some blood on a panel underneath it, which opened to reveal a small nook. He took out 2 scrolls and a set of keys. He returned to his desk and sat down to face Naruto, who was idly sitting on a couch playing with one of the elemental orbs. From the looks of it, it was fire. He coughed to gain his attention. Now Naruto, I have here 2 scrolls consisting of your inheritance, as well as the keys to your parents' house. Since you already know about them, then I'm going to allow you to stay in the Namikaze compound starting from now on. The security seals around the place are foolproof, so you need not worry about mobs finding you when you stay there. Seeing Naruto nod, he handed the keys to the boy and continued. This scroll contains all the money that your parents have amassed when they were still alive. We can safely say that you are going to be a very rich boy, said the Hokage. Why aren't they in the bank, Gigi? Asked Naruto. Simple. When Kushina and Minato died, they were thinking that the Namikaze clan died with them. The civilian council were trying their best to get the money, so I took out all the money from the bank, leaving only a few measly change, then sealed the bulk of it into this scroll. explained the Hokage. It was a wise move on his part to immediately get the money from the bank and sealed it into the scroll. The week after Kushina was declared dead, the civilian council was demanding to have the money transferred over to the village coffers. He was sure that they were going to go behind his back and pocket the Namikaze and Uzumaki fortune, leaving poor Naruto on the dirt. He was practically gloating when the civilian council found out that the billions of Ryo they were coveting from the clan account turned out only a few thousands. That was one win he scratched up on his book. Thanks, Gigi. So how much do I have? Asked a curious Naruto. I'm not sure. I think you have several billions of Ryo in that scroll, said the Hokage offhandedly. What? Billions? I didn't know that my parents were that rich, exclaimed Naruto. The Hokage just gave him a long look. Naruto, you forgot that your parents were very powerful shinobis. Remember that they worked their way up the ladder, so the bounties and salaries from missions made them well off. Not to mention that your mother was one of our accomplished hunter nins, so she definitely got a lot of money out of the bounties she turned in, explained the Hokage. Naruto was awed at the explanation. His parents were powerful shinobis. His determination doubled upon hearing this. Now he definitely needs to work hard to become the strongest. Now Naruto, there is something we need to talk about and it concerns the council, said the Hokage in a serious tone. This immediately got Naruto's attention. What do you mean, old man? I have a plan, but I need your permission first. Sure, I trust you, said Naruto with a smile. The trust that the boy showed him made him sit straight, proud to have the child's total devotion despite everything he went through. He is now more determined to protect the child, and to do that, he needs to get the council back to the way it was before. Thank you, Naruto. Now, I plan to reveal everything to the council, your bloodline and your inheritance. If we get this right, then your life here in Konoha will be a lot better from now on. I'm not sure that we should reveal Kyuubi as of yet, since that will definitely backfire on us. Oh, so you're going to tell the old geezers about me? Are you sure about that, Gigi? Naruto asked, worried about what might happen that will give him problems in the future. No need to worry, Naruto. Remember, I know the laws like the back of my hand. I plan to introduce you as the Namikaze and Uzumaki clan head and back it up with the introduction of your bloodline. Remember, bloodlines here in Konoha are prized by the council, so you having one will definitely swing the decision to your favor. Now all we need to do is to find out if your bloodline will be passed on to your children. Tell him to go ahead, Kit. Your bloodline is deeply integrated into your DNA, so your kids will definitely have them, announced Kyuubi. Kyuubi said to go ahead, Gigi. He said that my kids will get the same thing I have, said Naruto. Good. Everyone already knows about Kushina's bloodline, but we can tell them that it evolved because of the Namikaze genes. This way, they won't look deep into it. Sounds great. Do you want me to attend the meeting? Asked Naruto. Yes. I need you to be there, since you will be asked to demonstrate your bloodline to the council, mainly the Shinobi Council. I already called for a meeting, so they are waiting for us down in the chamber. I'm ready, Gigi. Let's kick the geezer's ass and teach them who's boss. Naruto shouted enthusiastically, which brought a peal of laughter from the Hokage. Only Naruto can brighten his day like this. The Konoha Council was divided into two factions, the Shinobi Council and the Civilian Council. The Shinobi Council is made up of the Konoha clan heads, as well as the two advisors of the Hokage. The main clans include the Hyuga, Aburame, Akamichi, Nara, Uchiha, and the Inuzuka. The Uchiha representative was Danzo Shimura, since Uchiha Sasuke is still underage and the eldest, Uchiha Itachi, is a missing nin. The Civilian Council is made up of the wealthy merchants in Konoha. The Hokage explained to Naruto the two council factions and his standing among them. The Shinobi Council is either neutral or favorable to his plight, since most of them followed the Yondaime's wishes for you to be treated as a hero. The only exception to this rule is the Hyuga. The Civilian Council, however, is another matter entirely. They are against Naruto since he holds the Kyuubi. This caused a stalemate when it comes to votes, but the Hokage was sure that he can sway them to Naruto's side due to his powerful bloodline. When the Hokage and Naruto entered the council chamber, the boy noticed that everyone was bickering over one thing and another. The whole scenario didn't really make much of an impression with Naruto. Don't worry too much about it, Kit. Humans have always been like this. You've seen one, you've seen them all, said Kyuubi, amused over the council's pseudo-superiority. Why are they acting like that then? Asked Naruto. Simple, Kit. From what I gather, the civilian council have been trying to usurp the Hokage's powers for years now. If I remember correctly, Minato told Kushina about it while I was sealed inside her. He was trying hard to stop their power-grabbing schemes, but he was only able to do so much. I guess the Hokage is now pushed back to the back seat unless he takes away the power that they have right now. Why won't Gigi do that then? He is the Hokage after all. He is the leader of the village. Yes, he can do that, but he might be working on that right now, starting with you. It seems that you gave him back his backbone, said an amused Kyuubi. His conversation was cut short when one of the civilian council members made it known to the Hokage of Naruto's presence. Hokage same. We were wondering why you called us for an important meeting. Also, why is that boy doing here? The councilman sneered. The Hokage just gave the offending party long look and made it known why he was the Hokage and they were just advisors. Tell me, Councilman Haruno. Who am I? Asked the Hokage. You're the Hokage, Hokage-sama. Councilman Haruto immediately answered. Good Councilman Haruno. So let me ask you this. WHO gave you permission to ask me why I called for a council meeting. The Hokage shouted the last part and leaked a bit of his killing intent that made the civilian council cower in fear. The shinobi council stood straight. It seems that something happened that made Hiruzen Sarutobi bring out his long-lost backbone. For them, they were looking at the god of shinobi, the professor, and the third Hokage of Konohagakure no Sato. Even the ever stoic Danzo smiled at this. For the past years since I've taken the mantle of Hokage again from Minato, I noticed that the civilian council are turning my village as their own. So let me ask you this, is Konoha a shinobi village or a civilian village? Asked the Hokage in a cold voice. He addressed the entire council, daring them to answer his question. The Nara clan head answered. Konoha is a shinobi village, Hokage-sama. Good to know that. So let me remind the council that this is a shinobi village, so this is purely my village. I'm the leader of Konoha. The council is just my advisors. You don't give me orders. I give orders. If I say you jump, you ask how high. If I say you leave, then you should run as fast as you can. Do you all understand me? He released his barely restrained killer intent at the civilian council, making some of them pass out from the strain. He looked around as if daring for anyone to tell him otherwise. After a few seconds of silence, he took charge of the meeting. Good, now we can start. I called you all here regarding some recent developments that occurred here in Konoha that will greatly affect its future. What developments, Hokage-sama? Asked the Hiyashi Hyuga. This is concerning the bloodline that woke up in Uzumaki Naruto yesterday after he was attacked by civilians. This brought out a lot of whispers from the Shinobi Council. The civilian council, however, were in total denial that the boy have any bloodline and that it is a trick to fool the Hokage. Hearing that the meeting was starting to degenerate into a total argument, he slammed his hand hard on the table that calmed everyone down. Thank you for the silence, he said sarcastically. Anyway, it seems that Naruto-kun woke up his mother's bloodline ability within himself, but it evolved into something more due to his father's genetic code. The boy is an orphan, Hokage-sama. He doesn't have any parents. One of the civilian council sneered. Really now, councilman, let me ask you this, do I need to give you the talk? Asked the Hokage. What? The councilman stuttered out. I said if I need to give you the talk. It seems to me that you don't know how babies are made. I assure you that Naruto-kun didn't just come out of the cabbage patch or a stork brought him to Konoha. The Shinobi Council laughed at this while the civilians were glaring at them. To continue, I brought Naruto-kun here to explain how his bloodline awakened. I'll supply the facts that he left out since I knew both his parents personally. The Hokage motioned for Naruto to step forward to begin his explanation, which he did. He explained what happened with the mobs yesterday that made the civilian council nervous. When he finished his explanation, one of the Shinobi Council, the Nara clan head, asked, "So Uzumaki-san, can you demonstrate to us your bloodline?" Naruto nodded and closed his eyes. He channeled chakra to his eyes to activate his elemental orbs. The entire Konoha Council gasped. Naruto was surrounded by 5 orbs of lights, each of different colors, taking their rightful position around Naruto's body. They stared in awe when Naruto opened his eyes and showed them his eyes, revealing his Dujutsu, gold iris and reversed star pupils. "This is my bloodline that is activated through my eyes. I call this the Kamigan or God's eyes. And no, I didn't come up with a name for my bloodline. Hokage Gigi gave me the name since it is a new bloodline with no records of its origins." "So what do they do, Uzumaki-san?" Sume, the Inuzuka clan head, asked. "My bloodline is composed of 2 main elements according to the Hokage. It seems that I got my mother's chakra manipulation bloodline that allows me to utilize chakra for almost anything I want. Hokage Gigi also told me that because of my father's DNA caused the bloodline to evolve that allows me to control elements as well without having to do hand seals. Also, my elemental orbs is only activated when my Dujutsu is active. It seems that my ultimate defense and elemental manipulation from them is directly connected to my eyes." This shocked the entire council. A bloodline of this magnitude has never been seen throughout the entire elemental nations. The power to control chakra and the elements is practically the most powerful bloodline in the world. Most of the shinobi councils were drooling over the possibility of such bloodline while the civilians were busy plotting on how to get Naruto under their wings to control such power. "What are those orbs surrounding you?" the Aburame clan head asked. "These are what I call elemental orbs, Shinobi-san. They serve as both my offense and defense. The defense is automatic. When it senses danger, it can act without my will to protect me." "Interesting. Can we test it out?" Danzo asked, interested over the possibility of such bloodline. Getting a nod from Naruto, he snapped his fingers twice and one of the hidden Anbius in the chamber threw 2 shurikens at Naruto at blinding speed. However, before the shurikens could hit Naruto, a wall of water shot out from the blue orb and intercepted the projectile. Danzo snapped his fingers again twice and a hail of kunai seems to shot out from the wall, but before it could hit Naruto, a wall of wind surrounded him that deflected the kunais away that almost hit the council members in the room. The entire council was shocked at the power of such bloodline. It was indeed the ultimate defense. Uzumaki Naruto has power over the elements and to use them as his ultimate defense. This was unheard of. "Interesting indeed, Uzumaki-san. It seems that your bloodline is quite powerful," said Danzo. "However, what would happen if someone attacked you directly?" Before anyone could stop him, he snapped his fingers once again and this time an Anbu rushed out from the shadow, ready to impale him with his katana. Naruto saw this and pushed his right arm out and immediately willed the flames to protect him. The fire orb shot out a stream of fire that created a wall of flames that surrounded him, effectively stopping the attacking Anbu from his tracks. He twirled his hands in a counterclockwise gesture and a stream of water, like a whip, shot out from the water orb and grabbed the attacker and immobilized him in the air. He raised his other hand palms facing forward to the attacker for the flames surrounding him to suddenly twirl around the suspended Anbu, ready to burn him off. Everyone was silent for a few moments before the Hokage coughed, catching everyone's attention. "I think that is enough for a demonstration, Naruto-kun. You can put him down now before anyone gets hurt." He finished the statement while giving Danzo a glare, daring him to do it again. Danzo just gave him a smirk but backed down from the dare. Naruto nodded, pulled the flame and water back to their respective orbs, but letting them stay active just in case of more attacks. The elemental orbs just weaves around him, as if ready to protect its master from further attacks. Sorry about that, Gigi, I guess I got carried away. He replied sheepishly, scratching the back of his head. The Hokage just waved the apology with a gesture of his hand. It's okay, Naruto-kun. Why don't you stay back a bit so we can wrap this up? He turned back to the rest of the council, who was now looking at Naruto and his elemental orbs in awe. Can we continue now, or do you want me to ask Naruto-kun to demonstrate more of his powers to the rest of the council? Everyone immediately shook their ends. They wouldn't want to become the subject of such demonstration. They've seen enough. So to continue, I would like to announce Naruto-kun's inheritance. From this day onward, he shall take up his father's clan leadership. Starting today, he shall be addressed as Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. The entire Konoha Council erupted into pandemonium. Chaos. The Konoha Council was in total uproar. The shinobi side of the council was excited over the prospect of returning the Namikaze clan into Konoha. However, the civilian council were in total denial. Not only was the Kyuubi brat in possession of practically one of the most powerful elemental bloodline to date, but also the son of their hero, the Yondaime Hokage, Namikaze Minato. Both Sarutobi and Naruto were amused over their antics. They were expecting chaos, but this takes the cake. Everyone was in total uproar. It was hilarious, and both were dismayed of not bringing any camera with them to immortalize the faces of the entire council. Sarutobi let the council go wild for a few more minutes. He and Naruto both discussed how things were supposed to go, and this is part of their plan. Instead of lording over the council, it was decided to let them stew over the idea and let them arrive at their own conclusion. The Shinobi Council eventually settled down, but the excited smirk on their faces proved to be enlightening to both Naruto and the Hokage. Even the stoic Hiashi Hyuga was showing a slight smirk. To the trained eye, of course, that tells that he was happy with the news. It made Sarutobi a bit weary, since Hiashi was known to be a schemer, so he may have plans with the young Namikaze. The civilian council, however, was discussing among themselves the absurdity of the idea regarding the demon brat being the Yondaime's son. Considering that they weren't that smart to begin with, so the bare facts that the Shinobi Council already realized eluded them. Sarutobi was brought out of his musings when the head of the civilian council shouted to get his attention. The offender was no other than the Haruno councilman. This is absurd, Hokage-sama. It is not possible for the boy to be Namikaze-sama's son, ranted the councilman. Oh, really now, Councilman Haruno? Do you have any facts that prove otherwise? Inquired an amused Sarutobi. We all know for a fact that the Yondaime has never married. If it was, then his son's parentage would have been known throughout the entire village. The Hokage nodded. That is true, but that is the reason why all of you don't know about his personal life. Explain yourself, Hokage-sama, said another civilian council member. I don't have to explain myself to you, but I will humor you just this once. Now, before we go into the legalities of the Namikaze Uzumaki heir, let me first ask you this. Do you think that Naruto-kun is the exact replica of the fourth when he was young? Get rid of the whisker marks and the orange outfit, then you will see what I'm talking about. Everyone stared at Naruto, which made him squirm in his seat. It wasn't always that he becomes the center of attention, so he was unused to the feeling. The Nara clan head spoke first. You are correct. He does indeed look a lot like Minato when he was still young. I should know. He was quite close with the Ino Shikacho Inoichi Shikaku Shuza group during our pre-Genin days. The rest of the Shinobi Council agreed at this. Also, his temper and attitude reminds me too much of Kushina-chan when she was young. She was quite a spitfire, that girl. Not to mention the pranks she pulled, said Sume Inuzuka, chuckling all the while as she remembered the young hothead. Indeed. Remember when she clobbered Jiraiya-sama when he was caught peeking at the kunoichis? said a laughing Shuza. He stayed in the hospital for a week after she was done with him. Every Shinobi Council member chuckled at that. The civilian council just glared at them. That is not enough reason to believe that the boy is the son of the Yondaime, said one councilwoman. You are correct. That is why I brought with me the marriage contract of both Kushina-chan and Minato-kun's. It was a private ceremony held in my office, witnessed by Jiraiya and Tsunade. Also, here is the birth certificate of Naruto-kun when he was born during the Kyuubi attack, signed by both Tsunade and Hikari Sato, who took charge of the birthing. Said the Hokage, holding up 2 documents and passed them first to the Shinobi Council. When the civilian council got their hands on the documents, they poured all their attention to it to make sure that everything is legal, and to their dismay it was ironclad. It was official. Uzumaki Naruto is indeed Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, the son of Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina. The Hokage coughed to return their attention back to him. Now we will take a vote should Naruto-kun get his inheritance according to Minato-kun's will. He called for a vote and all the Shinobi Council, as well as some of the civilian council, raised their hands in agreement. The only ones left were the Hokage advisors, Homaru and Kaharu, Danzo, and some of the civilian council. Then it is official. Naruto-kun will take the Namikaze Uzumaki clan leadership and all assets that come with it. Considering that he is still a minor, I will be temporarily taking over his seat in the council until he becomes an adult when he graduates and become a genin of Konohagakure no Sato. But Hokage-sama, if Namikaze-sama is given clan head status when he reached genin, then Uchiha Sasuke-sama should also be instated as the clan head as well, one councilman shouted. The sama suffix was added in disdain, but the Hokage just ignored this, for now. You are correct, but we can never deny the fact that Uchiha Sasuke is not the clan head. Itachi is still the eldest of the surviving Uchiha clan, so until he is dead, Sasuke is not the clan head, said the Hokage calmly. Is there any else? He demanded over the shouting of the civilian council. Seeing most of the members of the council shake their heads in negative, he continued. If there aren't any more on the agenda, then I call this session of the Konoha Council to a close. You are all dismissed. With that, the Hokage nudged Naruto out of the chamber, leaving behind a smiling shinobi council, fuming civilian council, and of course, some plotting members to get the boy under their control and all the influence he holds. The Hokage and Naruto retired into the Hokage office after the meeting, both exhausted with everything that happened today. It was already late in the afternoon, so both were a bit weary. Naruto settled down on the couch and directed the wind orb to rotate in order to produce a cooling breeze to cool them up. The Hokage was thankful for this, then settled down in his chair facing Naruto. Now that everything is done, I would like to congratulate you in becoming the head of the Namikaze Uzumaki clan, Naruto-kun, said Sarutobi, giving his surrogate grandson a smile. Thanks, Gigi. But don't you think that I'm a bit too young to become a clan head? I mean, I don't even know what to do, exclaimed Naruto. No need to worry, my boy. I'm sure you'll pick it up in no time. Now, we need to discuss a few things that come with your birthright. Naruto nodded, so he continued. Naruto, you need to realize that one of the reasons why I kept your inheritance secret is because both your mother and father have plenty of enemies. The history between the Yondaime and Iwa is legendary, so they will be sending a lot of assassins to kill you when the word of your identity gets out. I kept this hidden from you because I wanted to protect you, so I apologize for not acting out sooner, apologized Sarutobi. I understand, Gigi. But why did you release the information now? I mean, would that just put me in danger? Asked a curious Naruto. Well, it would have been a dangerous idea to release your inheritance to the world, but I think we both know for a fact that you can protect yourself now. Subtly gesturing towards the floating orbs surrounding Naruto. Since we are on the subject, I decided to let you train even before entering the academy to hone your skills. Among the rest of the shinobi clan heirs, You are in a bit of a disadvantage since your parents aren't around to teach you their techniques, but with your determination and stamina, I'm sure that you can overcome this hurdle. Also, Kit, I would be helping you out. Tell the old man that I will be helping you train, giving you ideas to help you get started, interrupted Kyubi. He was awake and listened to the entire council meeting and agreed with the Hokage's presumption regarding Naruto's enemies in the future. His container can take care of himself with his bloodline, but it's best to be safe than sorry. Gigi. Kyubi told me that he agreed with your idea. He will be helping me out as well. Naruto relayed his conversation with Kyubi. Sarutobi was shocked at this. Naruto was already powerful with his active bloodline, but with Kyubi's teachings, it is possible for the boy to become the most powerful shinobi in the entire elemental nations. He was weary with the offer. Despite knowing the truth about the Kyubi attack, he is still having second thoughts regarding the fox's allegiance. As if sensing the Hokage's thoughts and intentions, Kyubi decided to get his idea across. Kit, I want you to tell the Hokage to lock down the room. I want both you here in your mind so we can discuss your training. Can you do that? Can you bring him into my mind? Asked an incredulous Naruto. Of course. I have lived a long time, Kit, so I know a trick or two. Just tell him to lock down the room and I want you to relay this technique to him. I'll pass it to you right now. Naruto's eyes glazed over when the information of the technique was transferred to his brain. He told the Hokage about the Kyubi's idea and complied. He blazed through a set of seals and the room lit up for a bit before dying down, effectively locking the room from intruders. He performed the technique as Kyubi instructed and touched Naruto's temple. Hiruzen Sarutobi is hailed to be the most knowledgeable man in realm of shinobi arts, which earned him the nickname of the Professor by both friends and enemies. But nothing prepared him when he stood under the presence of the great Kyubi no Kitsune in Naruto's mind. He saw the cage that separated the beast from his surrogate grandson, as well as the seal that is placed in the middle that forever locked him in place. The sewer-like atmosphere didn't really fit well on what he think to be Naruto's mind, but he can teach Naruto later about the mindscape so he can change it if necessary. Welcome to my humble abode, Hokage, the Kyubi bellowed, overreacting a bit to scare the human in front of him. Naruto just rolled his eyes over Kyubi's antics. Kyubi-sama, said a subdued Hokage, not knowing how to act in front of the great beast that lorded over the rest of the powerful Biju. Such respect from the leader of the most powerful village, but we are not here to exchange pleasantries. Let's get down to business, said Kyubi, amused that he successfully intimidated the supposedly powerful leader of Konoha. Indeed, Kyubi-sama, I want to know what you plan to teach Naruto-kun. I don't want him to hurt himself with your teachings, said Sarutobi, scrounging up every fiber of his courage to face the great beast. It seems that protecting his surrogate grandson brought out more of his backbone. Kyubi noticed this and grinned. I commend you, Hokage. It is not every day that I meet a human that has enough courage to face me, except your Yondaime, of course. He added the last part as an afterthought. Naruto had enough of the whole thing and decided to make his presence known. Stop scaring the old man, Kyubi, he growled. Kyubi just released an amused chuckle, releasing the intimidating act, and gave Naruto a foxy grin. This confused Sarutobi to say the least. Sorry, kid, but I can't help myself being a fox and all. He turned his attention to the old man. Anyway, we are supposed to discuss about the brat's training. What were you planning to teach him? The Hokage coughed to get his beating heart under control. I plan to start him off with the basics. Before he can become a competent shinobi, I will want him to improve his physical prowess before moving on to other shinobi arts. During his physical training, I will be teaching him the basics of chakra control since he seems to need it for the rest of his bloodline ability. That is a good idea to start the brat's training. The brat part got an indignant, hey, from Naruto. The fox just gave him a mischievous grin. But it would be best to allow him to expand his mental capacity as well. We all know that chakra is based on purely physical and spiritual energy. The physical energy can be easily done through physical training, improving his strength and stamina. However, in order for him to balance his increasing physical energy, we need to improve his mind as well, so he needs to train his mind with knowledge of the shinobi arts and tactics. Sarutobi nodded. Agreed. But such growth would take a lot of time. There isn't any way for him to balance both skills without hurting him in the process. What I plan is to start him off with physical training, then begin his mental training once he attend the academy. True. But I have a much better idea. Naruto needs to be strong enough, at least Chunin level when he enters the academy. I don't want a weak container, and knowing his heritage and being my container, his enemies won't be giving him the breathing room to grow strong. Kyuubi argued. Sarutobi sighed. You're correct, Kyuubi-sama. But I know nothing to help him in both fields at the same time without him breaking down in the process. You don't? Well, actually you do, but you haven't realized it yet. But I do know how to get both his training done at the same time. I want you to teach him the Kage Bunshin technique that his mother passed on to Konoha. That shocked Sarutobi. True, with the Kage Bunshin, he can easily divide himself to accommodate both physical and mental training, but the strain of the technique will surely hurt the boy. That is one of the reasons why the technique was considered as a kinjutsu to begin with. No, Naruto is not strong enough to do the Kage Bunshin. Naruto was confused over the argument regarding a jutsu, so he interrupted the arguing duo. Gigi. What is the Kage Bunshin? Sarutobi turned to Naruto. Naruto, the Kage Bunshin is one of the forbidden techniques passed on by your mother to Konoha when he became one of our ninjas. It is part of your inheritance, but it is a dangerous technique for you at your current age. The technique requires a lot of chakra to pull off, and you need chakra control to avoid overpowering the technique. Gigi. What does the technique do? The technique is powerful. Unlike the normal Bunshin, the Kage Bunshin allows you to create real copies of yourself using large amounts of chakra. It is a technique used mostly for spying, since the clone will pass on its memories and experience once dispelled or killed. It also has its own chakra network, so it can also do jutsu unlike other Bunshins. That is correct. Agreed, Kyuubi. With the Kage Bunshin, we can easily simplify your training course. The real you would be busy with physical training, since the Kage Bunshin cannot relay physical experience and improvements, but you can use them to read and learn the shinobi arts in scrolls and from your teachers. Kyuubi-sama is correct, but I think this technique is too much for you to handle at your age. That is not true, Hokage. Naruto already has the chakra reserves. If you take time to reach out with your senses, you will see that his chakra store far surpasses your own, and with my presence, I can easily replenish his stores with my own limitless supply to avoid exhaustion. Sarutobi thought about this for a bit. It is true that Naruto is already more than a Kage-level shinobi in terms of chakra and stamina, and with the Kyuubi's presence, he will never suffer from exhaustion unless he depletes his own supply first. So you are willing to supply him with the chakra he needs for the technique to be used for training? Yes. I will be helping the loudmouthed brat. Kyuubi growled. And why would you do that? True that you offered, but I don't see it from one such as you, argued Sarutobi. Kyuubi just gave out a large sigh. Hokage, I think you already realize that the kid and I are already bound by the Shinigami's seal. This means that both our souls are merged. When he dies, I die as well. So please excuse me if I want to help train the kid so we'll both survive. Sarutobi realized what the fox was doing was out of self-preservation. He realized that there is too much at stake here for the Biju than he realized. So this makes Naruto safe from the Kyuubi's influence. It is true that if harm comes to Naruto, then Kyuubi would be harmed as well, so making him strong is the only option for the fox to survive. With the seal in place, Kyuubi cannot control Naruto's mind without his express permission. Fine, I agree with your idea. I will devise a training schedule for Naruto for his physical training. The Namikaze Uzumaki compound holds one of the largest libraries in Konoha, not including the Hokage archives, so he can go over the shinobi arts from there. But you have to promise me that he won't be doing any high-level techniques that I know Minato have compiled in his library until we both deem him ready. I will be asking for a monthly report so I can keep track of his progress. Agreed.